talked about today. With that, it's my pleasure to recognize my colleague, the gentleman from California, Mr. Costa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, we're in a discussion here where there's a lot of agreement to disagree. And I happen to think that the efforts that Voice of America and its international broadcasting and its expansion post-World War II, along with the efforts to deal with Cuba broadcasting radio and TV, there's a whole list of, I think, successes over the post-World War efforts that we've been engaged in with the communist countries in which we have been able to tell the real story about America. Now, if you want to make modifications, reforms, I think this committee is an appropriate place to do that oversight. Having said that, I'd like to specify a particular area that deals with Armenia and the Voice of Armenia. Do you happen to know, Ms. Lake, I come from the land of William Saroyan, and I assume you know what language the Armenian people of Armenia speak?
I've actually heard it. It's a beautiful language. I can't name it. Can you please tell me?
Yeah, it's Armenia.
Trick question.
The story of Armenian language is, and the voice of Armenia was so that the people of Armenia would understand, who were under the oppression of the Soviet Union, what America stood for and what our values stood for. How many people work at the Voice of America on their Armenian services? Do you know?
Right now, it's not a statutorily required language, so we do not have. We will not be having employees.
Let me tell you, because you had all these cuts that I don't think are surgical. They've been done with a, I think, some sort of disregard for. You have 5 people. You had 5 people, 1 full-time staffer and 4 contractors. They've all been placed on leave since March of this year. Did you or former fellow Elon Musk talk to anyone about the Voice of America's Armenian service before these cuts were made?
We are bringing the agency to statutory minimum, and Armenian language is not in the statutory minimum. If you'd like it to be, then I suggest you write legislation and put it in legislation.
What analysis was done to assess the performance of the services before the cuts were made?
We decided to listen to the person who's in charge of the executive branch of the government, and that person's name is President Donald J. Trump.
I suspect that maybe the president's not sure about the language that the Armenian people speak, but that be as it may, the Voice of America's own data showed that the Armenian language reached well over 1/3 of Armenia's adult population and ranked second in network-wide market penetration. The Voice of America brief notes said that the service unique role in countering the Russian disinformation and explaining U.S. policy to Armenians at the moment when Yerevan is trying to move out of Moscow's orbit. There are a lot of reasons why I think this is important because of the Russian disinformation. Do you believe that Russia's been engaged in disinformation with Armenia or other countries on Eastern Europe?
Obviously, you have a soft spot in your heart for Armenia. I think the people of Armenia are incredible. But we're working to right-size this agency, and the Armenian language is not one of the statutory
Well, I know, but there's got to be a
languages.
cause and a reason for your changes here, and I'm trying to find out what they are.
How many people do you think we should hire in the Armenian language service?
Well, what I think we should do is recognize the fact that Russia is attempting through misinformation to keep Armenia in their orbit. Do you believe that Russia is the aggressor in the war in Ukraine?
You know what? It's interesting that you really are concerned about Russia because VOA hired Russian spies. And I think that I didn't hear any complaints coming from you that I recall.
I asked you a question. Do you believe Russia is an adversary of the United States?
I think they are one of our adversaries, yes.
Okay, and
what
why would we
about
undercut
this
our
president
strategy
is trying to bring the
and
world
interest by
together.
dismissing staff who are countering Russian propaganda to potential partners of the United States? I mean, the reason is I mean, the focus today is on Iran. Okay, tomorrow it could be Armenia. Tomorrow it could be Armenia. And I think that when you put the Voice of America's Persian service on leave only to call them back after when Israel and we started trading missile strikes, I mean, isn't that a tacit admission that there were need for people to be on duty to provide that information, the voice of Iran?
I've worked in newsrooms. You surge on stories when you need to surge. We have always had the Farsi language as one of our statutory languages, and we've been covering it.
Well,
and
my
when a
time's
story
expired,
breaks,
Ms.
you bring
Lake,
more
but
people on.
I think that you've got to look more carefully at how you reorganize this effort, and more to be determined. Okay, thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired.